Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your host, Ellie Lee.
And I'm your host, Danny Morley.
And today we are joined by spiritual leader and CEO of Masters of Self University. Give it up for Rachel Fiori, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Rachel, today we're just going to go in because I know we got a lot to talk about. Gun violence and emotional fragility in men. Start it off.
Oh, yeah, this is a tough one. Everybody take deep breath, buckle in, because this is going to be a tough one. We got to go deep here. We have to talk about truth of what's happening in the world. That when you are at a 4th of July parade and you are at risk for getting murdered at a 4th of July parade, we need to talk about what is really happening here. Because here's where people are wasting their time. They're wasting their time on what the real issue is. They're missing it. People will debate until the freaking cows come home about gun control. It doesn't mean that that's not a serious thing to discuss. So I'm not dismissing that or minimizing that part. But here's the deal. That's not the cause of things. The guns themselves, and I am all for, by the way, and some of you are going to get pissed off. That's okay. Suck it up, breathe, drop into your heart, grow up a little bit. Be a mature adult when it comes to this. I am all for a degree of gun control. I am. So let's get that out of the way. And the reason is we don't need fucking 8 machine guns and bazookas in our freaking kitchen and our we don't need that shit for any reason. We don't need military. Okay, maybe. We don't need that as a civilian. But that aside, the fact that that's so ridiculous that people have access to these things doesn't matter. And you know why it doesn't matter? That isn't the problem. Guns don't shoot themselves. Guns don't murder people. Men do. Men do. This is a problem of toxic masculine, of wounded masculine turned toxic masculine. This is a problem of emotional fragility in men, and it is enough. That is enough of our society, our culture, our world, keeping men weak by teaching them things like if they feel emotions, they're weak, when the opposite is fucking true. You're keeping men weak, incapable of emotionally handling anything in life to the point where I'm going to go shoot people up. Guess what? Men are the murderers when it comes to this stuff. Let's get real. We have to speak the truth to get to the core root problem in order to heal the problem that causes a man to pick up a fucking gun and randomly murder people at a parade, at a concert, unloading, firing on people at a concert. Who are the ones that shoot up schools? Not the little girls. It's the little boys. Boys are the ones that have the problem here. Men are the ones that have the problem here. And we're too weak and pathetic and cowardly to call it out for what it is and then give men the real help they actually need so that they are not violent, raping, serial killers and murderers in the world anymore. We don't need the murderers anymore. We need to heal men, and we can't heal men if we can't even speak truth about what the hell is going on here. Let's open with that.
Ooh, whoa. Whew. I feel like I just got, I have a brother who was so emotional growing up, and all I ever heard was, stop crying, you're a wuss. Stop crying, you're a baby. Stop crying, boys don't cry. And now I feel like he doesn't even know how to access that. That times billions of people.
Exactly. All of that suppressed emotion when you are shamed and belittled from the time you're a toddler, little boys growing up. Where do you think that emotion, that pain goes? It goes, so wounded masculine turns into toxic masculine. And here's the unfortunate thing about toxic masculine is it turns violent. Toxic masculinity turns into those characteristics turn into domination, control, aggression, rape, murder, fighting, abuse. It turns into aggression in extreme forms, murder. You say, oh, extreme forms. It's all over the fucking world. This is prevalent everywhere. Stuff like this. It's not like this happens once every couple of decades. There's some random, wackadoo that like murdered people. Give me a break. This is happening all over the place, everywhere, all of the time. And we want to waste our time talking about the gun control bullshit. Let's talk about the problem with men. Let's get to the core that when men are so abused in this toxic patriarchal society, they are so abused from the time they're little boys. Stop crying. You can't show your feelings. You're a little girl. Sexism. Stop crying. That's abuse. How pathetic. Oh, you're sensitive. Oh, you don't feel emotions. Feeling emotions is pure raw power. You want to know why little girls aren't shooting up schools? Huh. You want to know why women aren't serial killers? You want to know why you walk down the street, there's no threat that a woman's going to jump on you, attack you, and rape you. Because they feel emotion, that's fucking power. We can process pain like none other on this planet. Let's start to learn from her. She's the only one that knows how to heal. That is sacred feminine energy. Healing is feminine. And guess what we've done for thousands of years, for centuries? We have desecrated, we've demeaned, we've ripped sacred feminine energy off of this planet. And because of that, feminine energy is almost non-existent in men and in boys. And that is the power that heals you. You don't have access to the power that heals you. What happens is you become more and more and more distorted. And unfortunately for a lot of men, that means more and more and more aggressive, rage, and even violence on many, many, many levels. I mean, let's get real here. Men don't have women to rape because they've been in prison. They resort to raping other men. Guess I'll rape you now. Let's talk about what really fucking goes on in our world and in our culture. You can't talk about, oh, it's uncomfortable. Anybody listening, you uncomfortable? How many of you shut me off right now because you're too emotionally fragile to actually talk about the truth? And if you can't even talk about it, you are never anybody that can heal it, and you're part of the problem. We need to bring the truth to the surface because men are in crisis. They fucking need our help. And we're not going to help them if we can't call this shit out and be honest about it. Men are in crisis. They need our help. Who is ready to step up and help the men who need emotional healing, mental healing from their suffering, because they're called weak and pathetic if they actually feel an emotion? This bullshit and this abuse towards men needs to stop, because only when we can stop abusing men, only when we can help them heal, will they stop abusing everyone else on the planet. So let's go. We have work to do. Who's ready to step up and do the real work?
I certainly am. Let's go. If that doesn't get you riled up and ready to start taking the leap, I don't know what will. You mentioned in there about men getting the help that they need, and you kind of touched on it then. But what exactly do you believe that what help can we give men out there?
I think, first of all, we need to acknowledge that this is a predominantly male problem. We have to start to speak truth. And secondly, we need to stop having all this bullshit coping mechanisms taught to men. I am so sick to death of hearing about the motherfucking breath work. I'm sick of it. I'm just tired of it. Knock it the fuck off. That doesn't heal your wounds, your unhealed traumas. It doesn't do it. Learn energetics. So Masters of Self University 100% goes to the core of everything. It teaches you how to alchemize your pain, all the traumas, the trapped emotions that are inside of your body, that are in your subtle energy fields. This is what we teach. This is what we, listen to my words, specialize in. This is what we specialize in. at Masters of Self University. And we specialize also in speaking divine truth, because only when you bring the darkness to light can the darkness be alchemized and transformed into light. We have to shine the light on the darkness. So men need our help. We need to have our men's groups, but the groups that don't promote unhealthy, low emotional IQ stuff. We need to have the groups that teach you from day one how to actually alchemize, go into your pain and transform it permanently from you. We need to grow men's emotional fragility into emotional power. You have the ability to learn how to do it, but that means no more suppressing, no more avoiding, no more coping, no more addictions, no more using sex, no more using porn, no more using your fucking weed that you call plant medicine, no more. You learn how to tap into the power that is you to heal all that needs to be healed inside of you. And I'm going to say right now to every single man who's listening to this, you have the power inside. You have it in you. You just don't have the knowledge or the skills to access it yet. But we can help you access it. We have incredible mystical life coaches that are certified in all of this work, energetically trauma trained. They are the specialists that can help you, but you need to be brave enough to reach out, join our groups that are offered, sign up for free consultations so you can talk about it. You have to take that step. We can't drag you here. But once you get here, we can love you and we can support you and we can guide you back to your internal divine power, because it is inside of you waiting for you to remember the truth of who you are. But no more excuses why you won't do it. No more excuses.
Beautiful. There was what came up for me when you were saying all that was a moment I had recently with someone I look up to in my life, a man, and something a conversation came up, and this person could not handle emotionally what was being brought up, and his response was to leave the room. And I couldn't believe that, and this happened actually on multiple, I've noticed this happen before, that he was so triggered by what happened that he had to actually leave the room because he's so much in weakness.
Yeah.
It blew me away. And I was like, come on, let's sit down and talk about this. This is clearly important for this person. And he couldn't show up. And then I started seeing it everywhere. I started seeing it in all the men. And I was like, guys, we need to be doing our work. We need to be being able to stand in our power. And so I know exactly what you mean. I've seen it in myself, of course. But I see it out there a lot, and we really do. We've got to increase this fragility that men are so fragile with their emotions.
Yes.
And the only way I've found to truly work through that is to start doing this inner work and becoming comfortable with whatever it is that's showing up. Just yesterday, I was dealing with these big waves of depression coming through, and I could feel the resistance. And instead of allowing the resistance to take over and this depression to increase, I was able, thankfully, from your teachings to drop in and go into the pain and figure out what was originally causing this pain. And men, like gentlemen out there, well, this is what we have to do. We have to not shy away from these moments when our soul is trying to communicate to us. We have to answer the calling. And that calling is coming through our emotions. That's how our soul talks to us. And the more that we suppress and repress and move away from them, the further we're going to get away from oneness. And I truly believe, and I know all three of us do, that humanity needs to go to oneness, and we have to answer this calling. And I think you just did an amazing job in setting that, letting that calling fly. And hopefully there's men out there listening to this that are ready to really take the leap.
Beautiful.
You know, Rachel, I see breath work right now. It's everywhere. It's everywhere because it's becoming trendy, right? So now celebrities are into it, and now it's like they stand with all the breathwork teacher, which is fine, right? It's all fine. But I remember this one episode you were talking about. It's like these men's retreats and these modalities like breath work. They think that they're healing because they're doing these things, but these wounds that they're healing are not attached to their survival. So it's not the core wounds that they're hitting. It's the small little ones that you can treat really quickly. And then they think, oh, I'm healing. But it's like, we're not getting into it. And so I think that's something that they're not even aware of,
No.
that they think because the surface is being cleansed, right? They're all good.
Yep.
But it's like what we're talking about is so much deeper than that.
Yes. Yes. And to remember, then part of our work is working in energetics. That is the underlying theme of what we teach in our coaching. It's how we used to heal. And it's what we teach everybody, all of our clients and all of our groups and all of our classes. And what that really means is when you understand the energy, how energy actually works, energy never dies. There's no such thing. Everything is energy. When there is an energetic form in the form of trauma, for example, that was created inside of you, that energy got turned into this trauma, whatever it might be. And it could be fear, it could be so many things, but we'll keep it simple. When that energy was created and made, that energy lives there forever. It doesn't matter that it happened when you were 6 months old or 10. Permanent energy is permanent, it never dies. And so the problem is, people learn all these damn tools and they use tools to temporarily move energy. Oh, the energy move. I feel so much better. Don't you get triggered again? Doesn't it come back? Here is your question you ask yourself if you have actually authentically healed. Do you ever get triggered? Does that same thing come up again and again? Do you still get triggered in that pain? Once in a while, all the time, occasionally, it doesn't matter the frequency. Does it get triggered again? It's a simple observation. And the answer is simply yes or no. Do you never get triggered in that thing ever again? Do you never feel that emotional pain ever again? And if you are completely clear, never feel emotional pain ever again when it came to that trauma, sure, it's healed. But if you are triggered in anger or rage or road rage, or you get annoyed or impatient with your partner, or you leave, or you're using all these coping mechanisms, guess what? You are a very unhealed person. That is not a judgment. There's no shame in being unhealed. It's just you've been misled. And I am here to lead you to the truth so that you can go in and tap into the inner power and actually authentically, permanently heal yourself. So we want to learn the difference between using coping strategies and all these tools and techniques. We don't teach you tools and techniques. We literally teach you and show you to dissolve all of that, tap into your internal power, grow the power that you are with the ability to energetically alchemize anything and everything that is less than divine inside of you. Feel the power in that. How freeing is that? Why would you settle for anything less when that's what you have access to? And that is here inside of you. You just have to be taught how to get there.
Amazing. I'd like to go back to, you were talking about like the wounded masculine and the toxic masculine. So how did we get from like wounded to toxic? I'd like to touch on that. And then like in terms of the women's side of things, obviously we're talking about archetypes here. So these exist both in men and women. Could you touch on that a little bit? And then the part that women have to play, because as we know, we're all one and we've got to work together to do this. We are obviously seeing these shootings in men, but we all play a role, right? We're all part of this.
Yep, because we are one. So it's everybody's problem. So your problem, your unhealed stuff is also my problem. And a lot of people are going to get confused by that. So I'm going to go into that in a minute. It doesn't mean it is like your unhealed stuff is my responsibility. Okay. But because we're one, we have to step up in our divinity, what that means in order to help each other heal. All right. So I'm going to put that on the side for a moment and I'm going to dive into wounded masculine and toxic masculine. So, and this is the same for wounded feminine and toxic feminine, how it occurs, by the way. There's trauma in there. There are wounds, right? So you've been treated poorly. Maybe you were abused. Maybe you just had unconscious parents and you have these programs in there that are wounded. Maybe you've been shamed a lot, and especially now for boys, that wounded masculine. If you're highly sensitive, but also any boy, they don't have to be highly sensitive. When they are upset or sad or express emotions, what we do in our society is immediately shame them. Stop crying. toughen up, be a man, all this nonsense that's toxic masculine, now abusing and shaping, creating wounds for these little boys to then grow up into, manifested into toxic behaviors. So woundedness is just the pain that you feel, the traumas, the unhealed stuff. Toxic is when that's manifested into behaviors that harm others. You see it? So wounded, that's the wounds. Those are the pains. That's the unhealed stuff. Toxic masculine is when they've manifested into behaviors. Those behaviors harm others. That's where woundedness turns into toxicity, right? So let me say one thing that some of the trend for a little while, some effort by some unconscious people, were that toxic masculine doesn't even exist. Stop saying it. Don't fucking go there. Of course, you can't say toxic masculine doesn't exist when we have all the men in our society that rape women. Are you serious? You don't claim like it doesn't exist. We need to be truthful about what does exist so that we can actually go in and heal these things in men. They need our help.
Just so everyone can understand, I want to give an example in my life. So the wounded masculine would be whatever creates the outcome of me getting angry. And then when I get angry, that causes harm. And so that anger is the toxic part. But what originally created the pain is the wound.
The anger is the behavior, the screaming, the yelling, the punching your fist through a wall, the chasing someone down in road rage, trying to pull them over because they cut you off. It's the behavior, almost always the behavior, that's the toxic part. That's what it manifests into behavior, where that behavior now actually causes harm to someone else, right? I'm triggered and, oh, fuck you, bro. And then you get in a fight and you start beating the shit out of somebody. Those are more extreme examples, but easy ones to understand with this, to understand where wounded manifests into toxic it's the behaviors, it's the domination, it's the control, it's the abuse, it's the demeaning, it's the objectification, it's the controlling behaviors. Those behaviors are what's toxic because they cause harm.
I wanted to piggyback off of him because one girl that I saw a lot on my TikTok was this girl who blew up and got millions and millions and millions of followers because what she would do was she would react to men, right, bashing on women. And then what she would do is bash on the men for bashing on women. And all of these women in the comment section were like, yeah, get him. And like, he deserves that and all these things. And as someone that is watching that, I'm like, you realize we're doing the exact same thing.
Yes.
We are not getting anywhere. What you're bashing him for is exactly what he's bashing you for. And then it's this cyclical, really sick cycle that and then we think that's empowerment for women when we go and we just bring these men down, when in reality, they are so fragile. They're not even allowed to cry. And we're sitting here and we're just bringing them and just literally she's smashing them into the dirt. And then we praise her.
I know. This is an example of all different levels of people trying to use their voice. Women who are completely oppressed and have been, forever, let's get real, but they're trying to use their voice to speak out against the toxicity. So it's a level of them trying to rise above. They're trying to heal. They're trying to be powerful and use their voice and call out the toxic shit because somebody needs to do it. We don't stand for this anymore. The problem is they're coming from a place of judgment and abuse themselves. They're not rising above it. They're lowering themselves to the same level, and then they're battling each other back and forth. There is a difference between speaking truth and calling out toxicity as we see it. The toxicity that harms human beings, man or woman. We talk about the toxic behavior. We bring it to the light. We are honest about it. We don't hide truth around here. It doesn't mean we shame. There is a difference. It doesn't mean you bring judgment and you make that person feel small, or your intention is to feel superior over him by making him feel inferior to you. There's a difference between that and being honest and calling people out on their toxic shit. There's a difference. If inside of you, you feel like you hate all men, you sit down and shut up. You're part of the problem. You're not ready to help heal anything. You can't be that way. You're not in a loving space, which means all you're going to do is add fuel to the toxicity. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're not healing and helping anyone. You're not helping women find their real true source of power. And you're not helping men heal what makes them behave in such shitty fucking ways to begin with. Like, we need to learn to come together in love and support and compassion. We don't make excuses for toxic behavior. But we learn that if I bring judgment and hate to the table, I'm just as bad as he or she, whoever we're talking about. I'm just as bad as them. I'm lowering myself to that level instead of rising above in my divine power of love, compassion, truth, and the ability to heal all of it. And I'm going to guide you to rise up with me and meet me up here. There is a difference.
You know, Rachel, obviously being around men my whole life and even being around a lot of unconscious men now, the resistance to even touch the word healing is thick. It's because I think their pride is on the line, their ego is on the line. You know, it's like, who am I if I really go down the healing journey? And even with someone that's really close to me, him even thinking about therapy was like, he didn't want anyone to know. So the shame is so deeply rooted in them because it equates to weakness, when in reality, they're in weakness because they can't face themselves.
Yep. And that's when we offer truth, that you are actually, by not stepping up and learning what it means to heal whatever is inside of you, you are living in nothing but weakness. And that's why part of the title of this, we start with, gun violence, because there's a, recent incident. Recent shit. It happens all the time now. It's like every other freaking month. There's more. But emotional fragility in men. You want to talk about weakness? You've been brainwashed, men, by toxic patriarchy itself to be nothing but weak. You have been brainwashed to remain and be trapped in weakness, not being able to handle things emotionally. Something as simple as your partner having a conflict, your partner's tone changes and you can't handle it because she's upset with you. You think that's power, or is that weakness? This is where we have to get real. Truth has to come forward, and we have to see how we are actually showing up versus how we like to think we are, right? So if your wife or your girlfriend or someone close to you looks at you wrong, she's a little upset, and that's enough to send you off the deep end, how powerful are you? Let's get real here. We have to bring honesty and truth to this. Emotional fragility exists because men have been taught that their emotions don't matter, and they've been lied to, told that they're weak if they have them. Here's the real truth. We live in the upside down world. We do. Because the real truth is, if you can't handle an emotion, you're the one who's weak. So let's teach men how to actually heal from this and grow their divine power that is in there. But you're not connected to it if you can't handle something emotionally. And handling it emotionally does not mean I'm stoic and I suppress and I avoid pain. Okay? So I want you to realize something. Men and women were born and created on this planet to complement each other. We were made in oneness, and our manifested forms, we are here to express different characteristics of the divine so that we can complement each other and work together in unity, in oneness. Right? And that means we were manifested to have different qualities, different characteristics. One of my sayings is feminine power, masculine strength. Why do I say that? Well, there's divine truth in it, but what does it mean? It means he was born in strength. Physical strength is there to protect, right? He was also born without the same level of emotional power that she was born with. So he was born in strength. She was born, but emotional fragility. She was born in power, emotional power, but her physique, her physical form is way more fragile compared to a man. Look at the difference. Isn't that the perfect balance? Isn't that the perfect balance? I have the emotional power to heal any fucking thing. That is the raw divine power of woman. And while I'm doing that, you have the strength to look out and be a watcher and protect and make sure no one comes near me and harms me while I'm doing my magic. That is the perfect union, the perfect combination. And we have so lost what we came here to do and complement each other with, work together in union for. And instead, we have done this psychotic road of separation where we're harming each other. And we need to stop it. We don't have time left on this planet to dick around anymore. So if you don't want, oh, I'm afraid, grow up. That's what I have to say to you. And I say it with love. It is time to grow up and step into your power. We women, not toxic women, those of us who have healed and stepped into our power, we want to see nothing but all you men out there succeed and tap into your power. We want you to be successful, but guess what? It's sacred feminine that has the keys and how to do that when it comes to healing. So you better open up, let her in, grow up, start to learn the way of oneness, of humility, and start to allow her to lead you back to your divinity, because she's the one here to show you how.
Now, Rachel, I've been obviously following you for a while, and you're my mentor, my teacher. And so I've got no problem hearing this. But I'm sure there's men out there who are going to get defensive, run defensive in programs to what you're saying, and they're going to contest some of it. What would you say to someone listening right now that is thinking like that?
You're in your woundedness. It's time to grow up. That's what I have to say. Where's that gotten you so far? How are your relationships going? How emotionally intimate are you in partnership in your romantic relationships? That's what I have to say to that. If you're not ready, not my problem, but you can keep suffering and be a problem on the planet instead of the solution. That's your choice. You have free will choice. You can either grow up and learn what it means to connect to your power, or you can keep being a broken, wounded, weak little boy. You can't be both. You are either one or the other. It is time to grow up. And the more you're willing to become the light warrior that you are, that is inside of you, the peaceful warrior that is part of your divine nature, you will then be able to go out there and help other men and women, just like the amazing women at Masters of Self University, because you should see them. They're the most powerful warriors on the planet. I dare anybody to try to prove me wrong when it comes to that. Most powerful warriors on this fucking planet are the certified mystical life coaches at Masters of Self University. You come contend with them with your weak bullshit that you want to spew to give excuses why you don't want to heal. I won't take excuses from anybody. Defensiveness is just a fucking program. Heal it. You don't know how? Come to one of our coaches. They will show you how to heal. They used to have the same programs. For crying out loud. We're all human. We're all fucked up. Until you choose to no longer be fucked up, all you're going to do is spew your fucked up shit. You done with that yet? I mean, come on. They were like that too. We all were. But we've chosen a different path. We've chosen a path of love and power and truth. So I invite you to face your fears and join us and allow yourself to be guided home back to the truth of who you are. That defensiveness is not the truth of who you are. It is a program running from your woundedness, but you can heal it. But you have to choose how. You have to choose it.
I think it's been an experience for me to see the men at MSU and to see how vulnerable and how open and how willing. And I think that we run programs of only men can heal men. right? That's why you have these like men retreats, and it's like, if I'm a man, I need a man coach and all of these things. And I think the beautiful thing about the men and the coaches at MSU, it's like they're so open to everybody and like understanding the sacred feminine and really working with women. And so I would love for you to speak on men out there who run the program of, I only need a man to guide me. Because let's be honest, Rachel, you are a powerful figure and it triggers a lot of people, especially men, right? Because they're like, oh no, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She can't do this. She can't do that. So for the people out there who are, running these programs of the resistance and all these things, can you talk deeper into the sacred feminine and men working with women and the healing that happens in that relationship?
Yeah. You want to only work with men, you'll never heal. Good luck. What's been created, that's the bottom line. What's been created on this planet has come from toxic patriarchy. That means with the absence of feminine. And look at where we're at. Give me a fucking break with the bullshit. You want to try to tell yourselves you can only heal with men. You can only get so far. You have no feminine energy in there healing, taking leadership, being in control of the healing. Healing doesn't fucking happen. There is 0% of masculine energy in transformational healing. So good luck with your men's group and how far you're going to actually get. You know how many of them have gone to all these men's groups, and then I've had men, some of my clients who are like, for years, I was like, I will never be healed by a woman. I could never go to a woman. And it's the most adorable thing because they realize as much as they've tried, it doesn't mean like nothing at all healed. But it's like, God, why am I still suffering and struggling? I'm trying so hard. I've done all this stuff. It's like you didn't have feminine energy. And the only energy that heals, transformational healing, comes from feminine. Hello. Like, it does. So think about the common sense that we are lacking. Look at our planet. It is time to stop it with the sexist fucking bullshit. And it's time to honor the power of sacred feminine energy because she is the one who heals. Sacred feminine energy is sacred wisdom. That's the wisdom of the universe. She's the one who knows how. She knows what to do, when to do, how to do it, why to do it, how much to do, how little to do. She is the wisdom of all things. That is feminine energy. So how can you say, I only want the masculine around me? Well, then you're a fucking idiot. That's what I have to say about that. You don't want to actually heal. You're a fucking idiot. You can go suffer in your ignorance. That's your choice. That is a free will choice. But the people who really actually want to heal, they put their stupid programs aside and they say, I need something different. How can I tap into this power? Please show me how. Now you're ready to actually heal for real. Get rid of the bullshit. That's like saying that men have, because I've heard this from women, that's like saying men have no purpose at all on this planet, and it's time that women completely rule the world and men have nothing to do with anything anymore. So we're not here to talk about that part today, but I'm going to throw that out there because to do the opposite, the polar opposite of what we've done the last 10,000 years is nothing but fucking ignorance too. Like, to be in oneness is the perfect balance of divine masculine, of divine feminine. They work in union together. They honor each other. And no, it doesn't mean 50-50. In certain situations, we need almost all, predominantly, if not all, of divine masculine energy in some situations. There are some scenarios where it has its purpose. That's what we need right here, right now, is divine masculine energy. You're not giving divine masculine energy if you're fucking unhealed and you're toxic. So heal yourselves. And there are certain scenarios where masculine needs to get the fuck out of the way. And divine masculine already knows that. So he just graciously does. And he protects the energies while the feminine does what she does. So there are times when we need nothing but feminine energy here in this scenario. When you are in oneness, it's not better, worse, superior, inferior. None of that exists. It's, oh, this is a situation for you. I'm going to back off. And please, after me. I mean, that's how the energies work together in oneness. They honor each other and they realize this situation needs to be all feminine. Everybody else get out of the way, and vice versa. That's oneness. Why are we trying to create separation anymore? It's just insane to me. So grow up, let's heal, and let's learn how to cultivate these characteristics within ourselves. They just come online organically when you are willing to heal all your shadow shit. So as you heal, all this stuff organically arises from inside of you.
Rachel, I feel like where we are as a world right now, I'm observing the things that you are saying, and I'm putting myself in a lot of these people's shoes. Do you feel like in our time right now that they can handle what you're saying? Because I feel like so many people out there cannot even grasp the words that are coming out of your mouth because it's that deep.
Mhm.
And so my question to you is, are we headed? I mean, obviously we're on the way, but we are also at a very difficult time where the unconsciousness is very alive.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to invite Danny to speak to that because I have the intuition that Danny has something that he can share about that.
So your question was, are we heading in the right direction? Is that what it was, Ellie?
And
Yeah.
can people handle these teachings? Can people even handle this?
I think there's a certain level that there's a lot of people that won't, but I think there's a lot of people that will. And I think you're ahead of your time, Rachel, in some kind of way. And so these teachings, this podcast might be one of those things that people will start to look back on once they find MSU in the future and be like, my God, I can't believe this was going on for all this time. I can't believe that they were so far ahead, because what I see in the world is not what you speak of. But I feel the potential. And I don't have many interactions with other men that I feel like could go this way, but I do have a few. And when I do, I cherish them. So I do believe that we are heading in the right direction, as long as men, we can step down from the perch that we've been stood on for so long and actually have the willingness to listen to somebody of your nature and of your experience and leadership. It's going to take a big leap for humanity to get away from the patterns and the programs that we've been running. But if we're able to honestly look at ourselves and listen to someone like you, we've got a hell of a chance of thriving in this crazy world.
Rachel, too, I was telling you before that I realized I was running a program of thinking what I wanted in a male partner, right? So all of these things of, he's got to be super masculine. If he cries, ew, like literally I've had conversations with women of like, he cries, like that's such a turn off, right? That's like him being sensitive, is because we're so programmed to believe and think that the only figure we want as a partner is, he's got to be gritty. He can't have any emotions. He's got to be this, he's got to be that. And it wasn't until I started getting to know a sensitive man where I was like, oh, that's a program that I'm running. And in reality, I need to bash that program, because what I'm here for is the connection to soul.
Yes.
And then it all of a sudden brings this whole other layer of what I seek in a partner. The cops. They're coming. And so I realized that too is so deeply ingrained in women.
Yes.
Of like completely putting a wall up against a sensitive man, a man that's in his emotions. So there's so many different ways that we also add to the problem.
Yes. Because women have learned to shame emotion within themselves. They're part of the result of all this. So they shame the emotion within themselves, which then they turn around and project that onto the men. So they've been shamed for having emotions. They're crazy. They're out of control women, right? And so they aren't allowed to freely express and actually powerfully move through and alchemize the divine power, the healing powers that women have are out of this world. But they're not even able to access that part of their divinity because of what our society has turned into, right? So then what they do, and here's toxic feminine for you, they turn around and they shame men when they see the power in men. They don't realize this is power, that some tragedy can happen. And instead of that being let's say you live to be 95 years old, you spend 95 years in suffering over one fucking tragedy. What the fuck is wrong with humans? Are you kidding me? We can't get out of our pain? What the hell is wrong with us? We are so immature emotionally and spiritually. Oh, but we want to call ourselves woke. Put the robes on, put the beads on, jump around a fire half naked, and that somehow means we're awakened. Get the fuck out of here. Look at our world. You're not woke just because you claim to be, right? So we shame men. So men have been shamed pretty much out of the womb. They're not allowed to feel human emotions. This is human emotions. It is your divine guidance. Your soul speaks through you and gives you guidance in life through emotions. That is a divine connection to your directly to your soul. And what we have done, we have completely disconnected men from their divine communication from their souls, and we started doing it after they were freaking born. We let them cry as babies, but then once they start to get a little bit around 1 year old, stop crying. We don't let you have emotions, which means we're turning you into non-human men, which means you can't turn into almost anything but aggressive and raging and hateful and, all the violence and all the crap that men turn into, because we're taking away your divinity from the beginning. Can we not see this? We take away the divinity of men right from the start. We disconnect them from their souls by not allowing their divine guidance to communicate through them. Emotions are powerful. They are healing, but they're divine communication while you're here in human form. You disconnect from that. You're disconnecting from your soul. How are you supposed to move through life disconnected from your soul and be a divine man? It's impossible. So we have a lot of work to do to reconnect men to their souls, to their divinity, and the connection of, oh, this pain moving through me, I can learn from it. I can understand there are teachings here. There's lessons. There's a message here from me. What shall I do with this? Right? So that's coming back. That's what people learn to do through our coaching programs and our groups, that we're going to embrace this that's coming up, because once we can alchemize and heal the pain, there's our guidance waiting for us. There's a gift there. There's a divine message, and you can't hear it if you're busy suppressing it. You suppress the emotion, you suppress your divinity. You suppress emotion, you're suppressing your soul and disconnecting from your soul. It's time to knock that shit off. No more excuses. It's time to knock it off.
Woo! And on that note, my God, you dropped some serious gems, and I hope that anybody that listens to this really, feels compelled to visit mastersofselfuniversity.com, because truly what we're here to do is going to change the world, and it starts within us. And shout out to all the men at MSU who are really walking through it. Shout out to you, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, the men that I've experienced in this community has been like nothing else. And we really are, I see, building something which is far different than I've ever experienced out there. And it's because we do the inner work, we do the real work. And, this is a sensitive topic, and it's a big one. And I think it's important for us to address. And the work we do at MSU is to address these parts of our darkness. And we don't shy away from them. We look at things honestly and in truth. And that's what you teach us. And so I'm sure there's going to be many more sensitive topics. And I'm sure there's some men out there that are triggered. And I'm going to tell you now, if that's you, drop in. That's a gift. Drop in right now. Go in and figure out what's being triggered in you. And if you don't get there today, that's okay. You've let the program take over. That's fine. Just keep working at it. And whenever you're ready, come to MSU, meet one of the other men. If you want to be coached by a woman, great. Just don't let your mind stop your healing. Take the leap.
Beautiful.
Yes. Rachel, thank you so much always for your wisdom. It always pierces the heart in such a deep, beautiful way. To everyone at home, please subscribe, share, comment, like, visit us at mastersofselfuniversity.com. Until next time, we will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.